Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Meta Cafe for your daily astrology, human design, and oracle report. And happy Valentine's Day to you all. What a wonderful day. It actually snowed here at my house. Now, just down the hill and down a ways, it's about 10 degrees warmer than it is here at my house, which is kind of a unique thing that happens here in the Pacific Northwest at times. Just the territory and the terrain causes the different kinds of temperatures and so forth. Good morning, Suzanne. It's good to have you with us this morning. Hello, Michelle. Good morning to you as well, and happy Valentine's Day to you both. I've got a funny story to share with you guys this morning. And so yesterday, apparently, my husband went to the store after work and ran in to get me a Valentine's Day card. And of course, you know, it's a crazy place. The store is jammed with people. And of course, they're all up at the wall of cards. And so he looks and he sees wife, and he looks at this card, he grabs it, and he heads off, you know, with his prize to the checkout stand. And this morning, when he was signing the card before I woke up, he realized that he got a same-sex Valentine's Day card for me, and it's a picture of these two women holding hands and being lovey-dovey. And he said to me this morning, well, it's a testament to our changing reality. I was like, what are you talking about? He said, you'll see when you open up your card. So I didn't have any clue what he was talking about. I thought maybe he just picked up, you know, a card that was not even a Valentine's Day card. But turns out it was for two women, and I thought it was hysterical. But I actually love that that's out there and available for people who are in those types of relationships. You know, just unsuspecting husband found that kind of card. You gotta love them, right? So this morning, I thought we'd talk a little bit about what Valentine's Day is all about. Because, you know me, I just have to sometimes go looking for the mythology. I thought there must be something really interesting in the mythology around Valentine's Day. And it is interesting, I'll say that, but it's not what I expected. And, you know, I've heard bits and pieces of this before, but I never really went looking for some of the details. So Valentine's Day, as most of our holidays are an imprinting over some of the much older traditions and rituals brought to us in ancient times by the pagan religions, Wiccas, Druids, etc. And this happened to be the festival of Lupercalia, which was a pagan fertility ritual. So you can imagine why it is perhaps that at the time that the Christian religion was taking over from the more pagan religions, why this holiday had to be changed. And it was changed, abolished by the Pope, and proclaimed St. Valentine's Day instead. But who was St. Valentine, right? So, you know, the Catholic Church has a habit of elevating martyred men, and some women, to status of saint after several years of have gone by. So the only real thing I could find about Saint Valentine, or Valentine himself, there were two men named Valentine, and presumably they were marrying Christian couples. Now remember, this is back in pagan times, so marrying Christian couples maybe carried with it some kind of crime, I don't know. But that's who these men, what this one man at least was doing. And so Emperor Claudius II had him arrested and thrown in jail. But the emperor himself actually liked Valentine and really did not want to have to do the whole, you know, kill him kind of thing, or, you know, martyr him. But ultimately, he chose to execute him because Valentine tried to convert him to Christianity. And so he was beaten and stoned to death, but he actually didn't die that way. They had to cut his head off in order to kill him. And so there you have it. My Bloody Valentine. Literally, Valentine's Day, the man behind it was killed for very little, actually. In the Middle Ages, it was the poet Chaucer who first linked the idea of romance to Valentine's Day. And good morning, Cassandra. It's great to see you out there. I haven't seen you in a while. I hope all is well in your world. Happy Valentine's Day to you as well. So in, where was I going? So Chaucer links it to romance, but that got me to thinking about why February, right? Why February? And I don't know if you all know this, but my very first excursion into the metaphysical came when I was about 18 years old. And I was walking through a bookstore. Yep, Suzanne, definitely a pagan holiday. Oh, she's got us a whole story up here. So this will be, I can't keep it here because it's too big and it's covering the whole screen, but she's posted it on the Facebook page, so you'll be able to read that. Thank you so much, Suzanne. That's awesome. So anyway, I was thinking about, going back, when I was 18, walking through a bookstore, and I happened across these two books, and they were numerology. So I grabbed them and I bought them right that second. I didn't even think about, at 18, what the hell am I doing with these books? And I read them from cover to cover. And I started doing numerology with everything and everybody. And I mean, I'll sit at night in bed even now, and I'll think of a word and I'll go, I wonder what the numerology of that word is. And so I end up finding out what a word means via its numerology. So when we think about romance and love, February is the perfect month because it actually is the second month of the year, i.e. the number 2. And 2 is a message about relationship and love. And it is the one joining with another one and coming together. So it's essentially about coupling, which to us can have a sexual connotation, but it can also be about how two people can come into beingness in a relationship and be sort of as one. Suzanne teaches Wicca on a daily basis. I love it, bringing back the old nature religions that really have, there's so much in our world that still is out of whack because of the move away from these nature religions and to a much more mechanized sort of belief system. And I challenge you to keep doing that out there, Suzanne. Keep teaching people the truth behind these religions, because so many times people, they hear Wicca and they go, evil, witches, Satan, yucca. And of course, that isn't anywhere near the truth about that beautiful religion. So keep on keeping on. Cassandra says, thank you. I hope all is well your way. Yes, it is. Thank you very much. I'm actually wearing red. If I could lift my leg up high enough, you'd see I have my Valentine's Day heart socks on. Somehow I managed to end up with socks to celebrate just about every season, including socks that look like flags for holidays that are like Memorial Day or 4th of July, perhaps. Unfortunately, in July, we don't wear socks usually because it's too warm, but whatever, okay? At night, I can wear them. So today, the moon is lining up for its partial solar eclipse tomorrow with the sun in the sign of Aquarius. Today, it actually is sitting between 14 and 16 degrees, which is exactly where the lunar eclipse was on January 31st. So be on the lookout today for, maybe signs or echoes of things that happened during that full moon lunar eclipse at the end of January. Remember, it was a blue moon, it was a blood moon, it was a super moon, so it was very, very powerful. I doubt that any one of us escaped that full moon without some kind of impact in our lives, whether it's change or whether it was something leaving our lives or some kind of revelation or aha that was a result of it. But go back and see. Good morning, Roseanne. Happy Valentine's Day to you. And go back to that day, because that's where the moon is passing across today. It's passing across the same degrees that it was at during that time. So we can get a sort of glimpse of maybe where that energy is taking us, right? What's the new step? And then I want you all, tomorrow I'm going to have, hopefully I've got to reach out to her today, Jana Groscott with us, who talks often about the oils and so forth that are going to be I'm sorry, my daughter's out there listening, so she just realized that her dad bought me a card that had two women on it. And, I wish you guys really knew my husband because he's hysterical and he does sometimes some of the funniest things. And I love this man so much for the humor he brings to my life, among many other things. But that one ranks right up there, Jennifer, I gotta say. Anyway, and for those of you who are just tuning in, my husband got me a card he thought was a Valentine's Day card for us as a married couple, but it turns out it was for a girl married couple, or romantic couple. And so he didn't figure that out though until this morning when he was signing it and putting it in the envelope for me. Okay, so back to astrology. So today, excuse me, that cough is just nagging at me still. So this morning, while the moon is passing through those lunar degrees where that lunar eclipse was, be willing to go, sort of backwards in time and see what things were showing up for you then, what feelings, what events were happening in your outer world, what ahas. The full moon sometimes brings us those epiphany times, those aha times. For me, remember that was the time where I had actually withdrawn a bit and I was coming back with a vengeance because I had suddenly gained access to some very deep truths about things that I was holding on to way from the past, which is another interesting thing that happens when the moon is in an eclipse, because it often brings back people from our past, or brings back memories from the past, or brings back episodes from our past for us to reevaluate and work with that energy. Tomorrow is a partial solar eclipse. None of us are going to see it because it actually occurs, its path is actually for the southern hemisphere. I'm not even sure people in Australia will see it because it's really mostly around Antarctica and reaches upward a bit up into South America. So none of us will actually see it, but energetically we are still linked to it, right? There's not a thing that happens on this planet, no matter where it happens, we are in a collective and we are linked to this particular eclipse, whether or not we see it. And this one will be powerful as well because it sits at the opposing degree to August 21st's solar eclipse, which was, again, another very powerful event that literally for years to come will rock our world because of the length of time that the sun was in totality. And it doesn't always have to be bad stuff that comes back, Roseanne. I'm sorry if you're experiencing that. But you know what? Things that happen to come up from our past that trigger us in negative ways means that we still haven't dealt with it, right? When you go back to the past and you can sit back and objectively experience that without the emotional kick, then you no longer have to experience any of that from your past. So it's not for punishment, it's to help you release what it is that you might still be holding on to. So interesting times ahead. It is really interesting to me when we think about the fact that Valentine's Day today is also Ash Wednesday, which is the beginning of the Christian Lenten season, which takes people through a dark time, and juxtapose that against the pagan festival, which was about fertility and purification and readiness for spring. I much prefer the pagan way of looking at this. And then we also have on the 16th, the Chinese New Year, which brings us into the year of the dog. And interesting because the Chinese New Year is never on the same day. And that's because the Chinese New Year is based on moons, the moon cycle. So let me see if I can say this right. The Chinese New Year falls on the 13th new moon of the year. So I think I'm saying that correctly. So if you think about that, the Chinese calendar and the Chinese idea of astrology and their new year is very much linked, I think, with some of the more pagan times, the more pagan beliefs and festivals, because they were also very much linked to the moons. So interesting that we in the Western world have sort of lost our connection to the moon. I would much prefer that our calendar was not mechanical in nature, because all of our ancient religions and our ancient cultures really looked at the moon as its timekeeper. When someday I think maybe I'll talk to you all about Mayan astrology, and we'll look at what your Mayan sign is, and you'll see and feel such a difference between what it means for you to be, let's say, a Leo, than what it would mean to be, let's say, a rabbit in Mayan astrology. So, but that's for another day. I thought today, too, I would talk about human design a bit, because the sun and moon are in a conjunction tomorrow. That's what makes it a new moon. And the new moon then puts a lot of focus on one gate in our human design. And this is a gate that is diametrically opposed to the gate that happened in August, where the solar eclipse was. And so I have a friend, for example, Michelle Gay, if you're out there listening, you know, your sun and earth are sitting at the same gate as they are today, only in reversed order. And so we have a lot of focus during this particular time on gate 30, which is called the gate of desire. Interesting that Valentine's Day is really about desire, being desirable, desiring love and romance and connection. But what we see through this gate is that desire this isn't about sexual desire. This isn't about so much the desire to have something. It's more the desire for experience. It's a very powerful gate. And when people have it defined in their human design, it really amps up the level of the energy in that chart. Because these are people then that are out for the next experience, right? They feel like they need a lot of, they have a lot of desires. They have a lot of, sometimes lying under the surface is this well or void that they're trying to fill by having different experiences, maybe even staving off victim energy while they fill their holes up with all of the different experiences that they can find out there to have. So this hunger for experience is what drives them to keep moving on and on. This actually sits on the emotional center, and so it can be a lot of emotional upheaval in this. If you don't get your desires fulfilled, it can leave you open to the experience of anger. It can cause you to go into depression, etc. So this is a very powerful gate. And its gift, if you look at this in the gene keys, this would be the shadow, right? The shadow is that of desire, the desire for experience and to fill up all those empty places within us. In the gift, through the gene keys, this is the gate of lightness. It takes us to a completely different feel as we just move through our life with the different experiences we have, without judging them to be negative or those, I don't like those experiences, but I love those experiences, without the judgment of the experiences. We just sort of lightly go through our life. And here's the interesting one. And I had to look this up really quickly because I was like, wow, that's an amazing word to put. In the gene keys, the highest expression of the gate is called the Siddhi. And that is a Sanskrit word that I think just means the highest expression of. I'm going to type it out here on the screen so you can see the word, how it's spelled. And the Siddhi for gate 30 is called rapture. And immediately, of course, that caused me a knee-jerk reaction about Christianity, because they're always talking about the rapture, and that's going to be the time when God or Jesus or somebody comes back and gets us all, or gets the faithful, et cetera, and I take exception to that. So I have a problem with this word. So in looking deeper, what this is about willingly stepping into the fires of annihilation. Now, that doesn't sound so happy either, but what it really is truly about, and Roseanne, you're going to love this one, is about the elevation from in ourselves to that of the phoenix, right? The phoenix that goes through that process of annihilation only to be reborn again in a new way. And so I think this really says a lot about our human experience here and how willing we must be to go through the experiences of our lives and come to a close with those things to be reborn into something new. So lots of good stuff on this particular day, if we think about it, right? Some not so good stuff as well. But, let's just think about the interesting placement of this particular holiday, St. Valentine's Day, in the middle of the month, smack dab on a holiday called Lupercalia that was celebrating fertility and purification in preparation for what? Spring rebirth and renewal. So I say spend the day today in bliss, looking through all the stuff that you no longer want to take with you into the spring, being willing to let go, let God, have fun, go play, experience life in all of its fullness, right? And filling up your cup. Remember yesterday we were talking about the South Node? Well, the South Node is still in effect as you are gathering up experiences in this life that you will take with you onward into other lifetimes or into concurrent lifetimes, depending on what your belief system is. And just celebrate and enjoy all of the energies available to us today in preparation for that new moon tomorrow. Now, one housekeeping note for everyone. Good morning, Natasha. She's right. She says that fire can be a very cleaning experience, and perspective is the key. That is absolutely true. Fire brings immolation, and immolation is also, think about the forests that burn in the summer and in the fall. When the fires clear, it makes room for the seeds of the trees to actually germinate and pop up new trees. Even, I live here in the Pacific Northwest, and Mount St. Helens in 1980 devastated the forest when that volcano blew. And you would be remarkably surprised at how beautiful that same forest is now as different plant life begins to grow, animals coming back, and a forest beginning to heal itself and regrow in a new and healthy way. So sometimes fire is definitely a tool of spirit to be able to clear the deck and start over. Okay, back to the housekeeping thing that I wanted to tell you about. We are getting ready to transition here in the morning to using Zoom as the platform. We are going to test this out on Friday. I thought Friday was a good day to do this because it's the new moon for sure. So we have the energy of new that we can take with us into this experiment, because I think it's going to be a completely different experience for everybody. And one of the things that you're going to experience immediately is the fact that you're going to get an invitation in your on the Living Astrology Facebook page to join the webinar. It's called a webinar because it's a webinar platform, and it's going to ask you to register. I set it up so you only have to register one time, and you can have access to it every day. I'm not sure what the thing is about registration, but that's how this one works. So I don't want you getting freaked out about it. I'm not selling your addresses or anything to anybody, but eventually when I use this for webinars, it will be, the reason for it will be that I know who it is that has, paid to be a part of the webinar or not. Of course, I'm not asking anybody to pay to be here in the mornings. It isn't about that. It's just enabling us to use a platform that allows us to work with one another in a completely different way. In this platform, I can elevate whoever I want to being a panelist. And a panelist then has the same ability that I do to share information. And I think this is going to be the most wonderful thing for us to be able to share charts and so forth. So be thinking about who might, if you want a reading, for example, I can put you on as a panelist. Then you and I are able to talk about your chart, and we can see your chart, and as well everybody else. So it is for everyone's learning and fun to see what's going on in a chart. So I think it's going to be really exciting. Joining me that day will be Natasha Venter, who you see here in the morning that sometimes is popping up with these wonderful comments. She is a magnificent angel card reader, and she does Reiki and other healing modalities. So I'm excited to have her join us that day and move through some of the energies for the weekend. here's the really good news. If it doesn't work and we don't like it, I haven't dumped Be Live, the one that we're using now, so we can always come back to Be Live if we need to for the mornings, and then I will use Zoom for webinars and for re-engaging my radio show in the next week. So exciting things coming. Please don't panic. Don't get upset. It's not a big deal. Zoom is so much easier, so much more stable. And in that, I really think it offers us some more flexibility in what it is we want to share with one another each day. If you have any questions about any of that in the process, let me know. You guys know how to reach out to me through Messenger, through my Facebook page, through my email at janet@living-astrology.com or Janet Hickox, Hickox, at hotmail.com. Now that I've confused everybody, I wish you all a wonderful Valentine's Day, and I will see you tomorrow morning, hopefully with Jana Groscott, who is going to be talking to us about oils, as she usually does with the new moons and the full moons. For now, take care. I love you all. Bye.